Hello and welcome to a new episode of Silly Point. So after a bit of a break, we are back to discuss international cricket. So we're done with IPLs and PSLs, back to real international cricket. We're going to focus on India versus Australia coming up, the big ODI series, focusing on the predicted starting 11s, our the key players, and who we think is going to win the series. So let's get straight into it. G, patriotism aside, obviously. It's India's first series, right?
Yeah,
Since
first
lockdown.
first first international series since the lockdown. Um, Now they have some cricket behind them, which is great. They played in the IPL. Most players did okay. Most of the Indian players have done pretty well. So it should be a good contest. Obviously, Australia have, I would say, slight of an edge because they went to England. They've been part of a biosecure bubble. They've played ODIs and they won against England as well. So that would be my opening line. I think Australia have a bit of an advantage.
I think all of that are to one side. Australia have a bit of an advantage because India is missing one of the biggest, the greatest players of the modern era,
Yeah,
Rohit
fair.
Hitman Sharma.
Yeah,
Rested, dropped, injured, although he played the last 5 games. We'll get into the controversies later on. But yeah, I think that does overall, well, not to spoil it too early, but that does give Australia the slight edge. But maybe our opinions might change as we go along in the more in-depth analysis of the squads.
yeah, cool. Should we start with the starting 11 for India?
Yeah, let's kick that off. For this is just the ODI series. Obviously, we'll do our episodes on the T20 and the Test series when they're nearer. So let's start with the
Yeah,
ODIs, which start on the 27th.
yeah, on the 27th. That's right. Um, in terms of opening, pretty straightforward. Shikhar
Yeah,
Dhawan, given the IPL that he's had, and
yeah.
given his record in ODIs, he's going to be one opener. And then I guess you need someone to replace Rohit Sharma. So we have two options in the squad. There's Mayank Agarwal or there's Shubman Gill. I'd be inclined to go with Mayank.
Why
What do you?
not KL?
I think KL. I think they've made sure they're going to trial KL in the middle order, and he's going to be the number one wicket keeper as well. So KL for the time being, unless he doesn't perform or something changes, or Pant's form comes through or Sanju Samson's
Yeah.
form comes through, I think until then KL will be batting in the middle order and will be keeping wickets.
Okay. I would have expected maybe they experiment a bit more in the middle order and have KL, who actually opened in the World Cup also when Dhawan was injured. But I think if they had to pick one between Agarwal and Gill, I think on current form, Agarwal takes it by
Yeah,
far.
I agree.
And he had a
Agarwal
good
has
test
now
series. He had a good test series in 2018, right, in
18.
Australia. So
Yeah,
he
yeah,
so he knows how to play in Australia.
yeah.
So
And
yeah,
given
I
the
think he's
form that he's shown in the IPL, like good strike rates,
yeah.
clean hitting, orthodox batting, I think that bodes well for him.
Yeah. So Dhawan and Agarwal to open.
Yeah,
Do we need
number
to spend
three.
time on number three?
No, don't need to spend time on number 3 and 4. That's straightforward. Number 3, Virat Kohli, captain, and number
Yeah.
4, KL Rahul, vice captain and wicket keeper.
Well, number five, Shiraz Iyer, right? Or
And number
I think
5,
I think 4 is Iyer and 5 is Rahul. That's the way it's recent. That's how it
yeah,
was in the New Zealand series, at least, right?
you can. I guess you can, depending on the situation and depending on who you want to push up the order, you can do that. They're pretty interchangeable at 4 and 5.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then number 6 as well, in my opinion, at least straightforward.
I think
It
number six for me is the new number 4 of Indian batting, which is the toss up, right? I mean, but who is your certainty?
For me, it was Hardik Pandya because I'm not sure whether he's going to bowl.
Yeah.
And so that means that he might bowl, like he might have a restriction on how many overs he can bowl, so it might just be okay, he can bowl 3 overs every game. So I would have him at 6. In my opinion, he's a better batsman than someone like Manish Pandey or
Yeah.
Sanju Samson.
Okay, so you're going with an all-round option. I thought they might go with the pure batsman at 6 and Pandya at 7.
Well, that, yeah, they
And
could do that, but that's on the basis that Pandya can bowl 10 overs. You
yeah,
can get 10 overs out of Pandya, and I doubt that will be the case.
that's true. I mean, that was my initial was either it's Samson or Pandey at 6,
Yeah,
and then they might have Pandey at 7.
yeah,
Um, But then if you go with Pandya at 6, I think they might start with that and see how it goes and see
Yeah,
if Pandya gets fitter as later on in the series, and if he can bowl more,
yeah.
then they might rejig the balance because that kind of makes a very long tail because I think 7
Well,
do we it's
it has to be
has to
Jadeja,
be
right?
Jadeja, right? Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah, it
mean,
has to be.
I Jadeja's batting has improved significantly
Yeah,
in the last year, ever since the World Cup. Like during the World Cup, his batting improved
yeah,
significantly, and then beyond that, any format he's played, his batting has improved. Even in the
yeah,
IPL, he was the finisher
yeah,
for Chennai Super Kings. So I think he deserves his spot at number 7. Obviously, we
yeah,
know he's a brilliant fielder. He can save 15 runs in the field,
yeah.
uh, and can chip in with a few handy overs as well. So
Just don't make him field in Dubai. I remember he dropped a few chances in the IPL, but everyone did.
shouldn't be an
Um,
issue in Australia, I think. But yeah, um,
yeah,
so Jadeja at 7,
yeah,
and then
and
the
then a
next four
long tail.
players. Yeah, I mean it's just the way it is with India. You've got a long tail,
I mean,
but
the only question I guess is the third seamer, right? I don't think they'll play another. They won't obviously go with.
yeah,
Well, they'll obviously have Chahal as the spinner
yeah,
and
that's
Chahal
right.
Jadeja, so Kuldeep will not start.
Yeah, agreed.
And then you have Shami Bumrah for sure, and then
Yeah,
the third seamer is the question, right?
the third seamer is the question. I mean, looking at the squad, they only have like two options. They've got Navdeep Saini or Shardul
Yeah.
Thakur. And then again, looking at those two options, you're like, okay, fine. You have to go with Saini.
Really, I would have thought to go with Thakur because he can bat a bit also, no?
Uh, yeah, maybe he can bat a bit, but then just purely looking at bowling,
Yeah,
right? Saini's yards ahead, especially in a place like Australia,
true.
where there's good bounce and good pace on the wickets. I think
Yeah,
Saini can be a handful for the batsman. Like this, my opinion. I always like to have, five to at least five genuine options, and if you can afford it, have six bowling options because you never know, when a bowler might have an off day. And
yeah,
Shardul Thakur, yes, he's a good bowler. He's a handy batsman, but yeah, at least in Australia, maybe
yeah,
not. Maybe if this was happening in India, Shardul Thakur might come in with his cutters and
yeah.
slow balls and knuckle balls and stuff. But yeah, I think Saini is a better shout in Australia, even though that weakens the batting a little bit. But oh well.
Yeah, but I think if you need Thakur to bat at number 8, then you're in
Exactly.
trouble anyway. Then so
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Shami can bat at 8. Smack a
yeah.
few sixes. Yeah.
And can't say much about the other two, other three actually, Chahal, Bumrah.
Yeah.
So that's so we start with Agarwal and Dhawan.
Yeah.
KL, Virat Kohli, obviously, Iyer, KL Rahul, Hardik Pandya, Jadeja, Shami, Saini, Chahal, Bumrah, in whatever order you want that to be.
Yeah. Cool. Should we move on to Australia then?
If we move on to Australia,
Yeah.
again, very simple top three
Yep.
or four: Warner, Finch, Smith at 3.
Smith, yes, Smith, and even number 4 is pretty much nailed in. Labuschagne.
Labuschagne, yeah. Now
Yeah, yeah,
he's translated his test form. Well, let's see if
yeah,
he can do that in the one day form.
yeah.
But yeah, so that's the top 4.
Actually, I should say the top 5 are pretty certain. You have Maxwell at 5.
Really, despite all his
I mean, yeah, okay, fine. Fair enough. He didn't get a chance. He
yeah,
didn't perform well in the IPL, and you could put that down to whatever you want, not getting enough opportunities,
yeah,
or just not having that form behind him, which can happen to anyone. But again, looking at the previous series Australia played against England, Maxwell was on fire.
yeah.
At last ODI against England, he scored a
True,
brilliant 100. So
true.
I just don't see them veering away
Yeah,
from that.
again, back home in Australia, I think the Australian pitches might suit him as well with the ball coming onto the bat rather than the
Yeah,
slow UAE pitches. So that might help him. Well,
yeah.
if you look at it that way, Maxwell was my only question. Then 6
Yeah,
and 7 are pretty straightforward as well, right? Stoinis and Carey.
yeah, I completely agree. I mean,
Unless you think
Stoinis,
Matthew Wade can make a backdoor entry, but I don't think so.
I don't think so. At least not in the ODIs. Again, Carey with his performance in the last game scored a brilliant 100. It would seem counterintuitive to change the winning, change a winning team.
Yeah,
So I certainly agree. I mean, obviously Stoinis with the form that he's been at the IPL with bat with ball, everything, I
Yeah.
think he deserves a chance at six in
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
order.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah,
And then 8 and 9. Again, IPL form aside, Pat Cummins would definitely start.
I agree. I agree.
Uh,
I mean, like with Australia, their ODI team is pretty much nailed on, in my
yeah.
opinion. You've got Zampa as the spinner, and
Yeah.
then you've got the three big fast bowlers: Pat Cummins, Mitchell Stark,
Just
and Josh Hazelwood.
no Wood. Yeah, I think Richardson was the only one, but he's not no longer part of the squad. I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
He was the only one who could have made his way in for Josh Hazelwood. But yeah, I think although apparently Sean Abbott has been doing pretty well in the domestic format
He
with
has.
bat and ball actually.
Yeah, true. That's true.
So he might get a chance, but
And
I
you
doubt
never
he'll
know.
start.
They've got Australia have also got a wild card, 21-year-old Cameron Green,
Yeah,
who's obviously people have talked a lot about him. You all the Chappell brothers, Justin Langer, all the big people in Australia
yeah,
have been talking about him, and so he's in the squad. But he might potentially get a game in,
yeah,
just for him to get a feel of international cricket. In place of maybe someone like Stoinis.
yeah,
So that would be a good introduction. Just go in
yeah,
and play against India. Because he's in the test squad as well. So that might be something that they might look at. And again, if tracks permit, they might also want to play two spinners. So bring in Ashton Agar as well,
yeah,
maybe in place of Stoinis. But yeah, I think this starting 11 of Australia, is pretty strong, nailed in. The only difference from
yeah.
the series against England is Stoinis coming in.
Yeah. His form is definitely warrants him a place. So pretty straightforward. Finch, Warner, Smith, Labuschagne, Maxwell, Stoinis, Carey, Cummins, Stark, Zampa, and Hazelwood.
Yeah,
So moving on to the key players, who do you think will
yes.
be the men to watch? Let's ignore. Let's not have Kohli or
Yeah,
Warner or
no,
Smith.
no, no,
Apart
no.
from them,
Yeah, fair enough. I'm going with two players for India. You've got Hardik Pandya, um, especially given the fact that he's not he might not bowl
yeah,
as often as he would like. I think he's going to focus on his batting, and I think if India are in a good position at the end of 30 overs, for
yeah,
example, good opportunity to send him up the order above guys like Iyer and Rahul and let him go
yeah,
crazy. I think the six hitting form he showed at the IPL, if
yeah,
he translates even 60-70% of that in Australia, where the ball comes onto the bat very
yeah,
nicely,
yeah,
I think he's got a big role to play. And then I'm going to also, I think Chahal will stand
yeah,
out again. He loves bowling against Australia,
yeah.
and competing against Zampa, I think would bring out the best in him.
Yeah.
So those
And
are
I
my
think that the big boundaries will help his loopy, the
yeah,
ball that he balls
so true.
outside off stump,
Yeah.
especially his delivery to get batsmen out. So I
Mm,
think I had actually Chahal in my list as well. But
yeah,
given that you picked him, I'll go with Agarwal or
yeah,
whoever ends up opening with Dhawan because that's key.
yeah,
Not just for them personally because it could be a big. If for example Agarwal scores 250s or gets 100, then you're really having an interesting debate, right? When Sharma is back, uh, but. Uh, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he performs. And again, he needs to kind of solidify the top order.
yeah.
And for Australia, who would you have?
For Australia, I'm going to go with Maxwell.
The Big Show.
The big show. Yeah, I think again he didn't have a great IPL, and that's just going to spur him on,
Yeah,
onto greater things. So Maxwell, and I think in terms of the bowling, maybe Pat Cummins.
yeah.
Both Cummins and Maxwell had relatively ordinary IPLs, so I'm just backing them to come back strongly, given the quality of players that they are.
Surprised you're not going for the man you love. You always back him up, Mitchell Stark, in every rank conversation we have.
He's always going to be up there. I mean,
Yeah,
no doubt. It's equivalent of, like you said at the beginning. Let's not pick the standard Smiths and Warners.
yeah.
I mean, for me, Stark is in the same category,
Fair enough. Fair
at
enough.
least in
Yeah.
ODIs.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing Labuschagne, especially given that top three of Australia is so strong.
Yeah,
if they flop in one of the games, he needs to be the one to step up and take on that mantle in the middle order.
yeah,
So it'll be very interesting to see how he performs. Similar to Agarwal's position, I guess. Kind of having a good Test career so far, but kind of still building their way into the ODI team. So
yeah.
it'll be good to see how he performs also. Particularly given how strong the top three are, so he could come in at 300 for one, or he could come in at 50 for three. So we have to play very different roles.
Yeah,
Team.
cool.
So and then finally
The
predictions.
predictions. Well, I've kind of given my hand away a little bit. I think Australia are going to win this series 2-1.
Yeah,
Um, just based on two things, the fact that Australia have already played an ODI series and they beat England, and they were tough games, right? So I think Australia are going to be more fine tuned to how ODIs, how ODIs run. India might take a little while to get going. Again, they do struggle in Australia.
yeah.
Any most teams will struggle in a place like Australia, most subcontinent teams at least. So yeah, so I'm going 2-1 to Australia. First one won by Australia, second one won by India, and third one by Australia.
um, I'll go the other way. Actually, after discussing these teams and just doing a man for man comparison, I think India is slightly ahead. Even
Man for man, yes. Man for man, kind of, you'd say that probably India is ahead.
yeah.
Yeah, I do agree,
So
man for man.
and on current form also, well, if you just look at IPL form,
IPL, yeah,
Finch, Maxwell, Cummins not in the best form, but that might be that the tide is turning for them now. But
yeah,
but just on that basis, even though India is missing the hitman, I
yeah.
still think they'll squeeze it 2-1. And I think Australia will probably win the first one, but I think India will rectify and come back and win the next two.
Nice.
And I'm expecting big things from King Kohli, of course, the chase master.
We said that for the IPL as well, and it was we started with saying, "Oh, there's no one who can challenge Kohli to be the orange cap winner," and we ended it with saying that Mr. Kohli needs to watch out what he's saying in public, in press
No, but
conferences.
ODIs is a different ball game for him.
Of
He's
course,
the
yeah,
master of ODIs.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It's all muscle memory, right? It just
exactly,
kicks in as soon as as soon as he has to chase 350
yeah,
overs,
exactly,
his mind starts to work, and his body starts to work. So
exactly. So and plus he's not going to be there for the Test series. I think this is his only chance to
fair enough.
step up. So that's our episode. Let
Yeah,
us know what you think. Who do you think is going to win the series? Is it going to be as close as we've made it out to be? And who else do you think should make an appearance in the starting 11? I think they've been pretty easy to pick. Not a lot of debate, but who do you
yeah.
think deserves a chance? Do you think Shubman Gill deserves a chance, or do you think somebody else in the bowling for India deserves a chance? So let us know. And always, as always, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.